23rd, 2018. And start off with some announcements. So our fall festival, due to forecasted weather, we have canceled our fall festival, which was scheduled for this Saturday. There is no rain date. Our annual Ragamuffin Parade, which had been canceled from last Sunday, is rescheduled for this Sunday, and hopefully this Sunday
Is your microphone on?
the weather cooperates with us. Yes, it is. You can't hear me?
No.
So, Carnival begins at 12, rides, fun, food, and music. Parade starts at 3:30. That's at the Chapua train station. And what other announcements? I'll try to go through real quick. They have the first annual Newcastle Fire Explorer Recruitment Fair. If you have a son or daughter between the ages of 14 and 18, they could be a volunteer firefighter. And they're having an event at the Millwood Fire Station. That's a new firehouse in Millwood on Sunday, October 28th from 10 to 1. And current Horace Greeley High School firefighters will be on hand to demonstrate some of their skills. And we got League of Women Voters is having Candidates Night on Monday, October 29th. That's at 7 p.m. right here. And I guess that's it for now. We're having a budget meeting here on November 7th. Rob Deary will be here. That's another event sponsored by the League of Women Voters. And I'll also do an update on some of the town issues. That's it for the announcements. On the supervisor's report, I'm just going to briefly go over the update on the downtown infrastructure and streetscape project. Final drainage work on North Greeley from Lower King to Maple is continuing this week. We did have a problem with getting past Verizon. There's some conduits underground. We've had a lot of those conflicts, but this conflict, we were not getting the cooperation of Verizon to move their conduits. Turns out they can't move them because they don't have slack in the wires. So now we're going under the conduits, and work was being done today in that regard. So once we go past Verizon, we could finish on North Greeley and finish with our drainage. And that will finish out all the infrastructure. We've already started with the streetscape. We have granite curbing on North Greeley, all the way from Bishop down to the post office. We now have granite curbing on South Greeley, on the library side. And we're gonna start getting some new sidewalks towards the end of the week with North Greeley and South Greeley, and then this, they're gonna go up, King Street to Center Street. Those will be the next curbing that goes in. They took out some trees by Bell. We'll be planting some new trees. And so we're making some progress. And we got, if you notice, they got the footings for the lights on South Greeley. So we're making some progress with the streetscape, and these are the things that people will be able to see. And as opposed to the infrastructure, which is just creates a lot of frustration for people with metal plates and bumpy roads. So that's pretty much it. My supervisory report, I have other stuff, but I'm not going to take the time tonight. It'll be in a newsletter blast tomorrow. And now on to Jill Shapiro for her administrator's report.
I'm actually going to pass because the hour, we're already
Okay.
late on the public hearing, so I'll put it in your newsletter blast.
Terrific. So, Randy, you ready with your presentation?
Computer will be ready in a couple of seconds. I could probably start without it.
It's up to you. We can go on to something else. Well,
Go on to
what else
something
do we
else.
have? Oh, technically, what else do we have?
Public comment?
Yeah, any public comment? Now, that's not for the public hearing. We're gonna open the public hearing, but any public comment on something other than the leaf blower? Okay, so there's no public comment, so then we'll move on. Oh, look who we have. John Ehrlich. Hey, John.
Missing the World Series for this.
It's okay, it's the Red Sox.
Anyway,
John, we don't mean to keep you here.
I
I mean, you know, if you wanna go see the World Series.
you guys have been working for 4 hours now, and I think it's good. Anyway, I just wanted to bring to the attention of the board a couple of issues we have related to a small little project in our front yard. The issues basically are, people are, and I've been asked by the neighborhood to come here, the people in the neighborhood are a little upset that certain of the laws regarding trucks do not seem to be enforced. That being the case, they've suffered outages, wires have come down. You know, we had originally asked that the wires be buried. We understand the cost, extensive cost of that. But if you just take a look at it, we've got a lot of wires up there. And when you have a big truck within a gantry, it has a tendency to cause problems. I want to thank folks in this room who have been very responsive to the many emails. And what can we do about it? That would be my question. My sense is, if you are going to build a shopping center in our front yard, at least let's see if we can enforce those truck laws. I can't believe that the CCSD, the Chappaqua Central School District, has not complained, because it's dangerous for those folks.
John, the thing is that they're trucks. These trucks that are coming down, that one that took down that fire wire yesterday was not one of our trucks. It's
No,
not a
I know.
Chappaqua Crescent truck. It's a Chappaqua Central School District. They're doing construction on their property.
I
And those
understand.
trucks are still gonna be going down Roaringbrook Road to get into that project.
Well, I guess I could go see those guys as well, but I just wanted
I
to.
guess you're right, they could
They
go up
should go
117,
into
but that's not
117.
that's not a Chappaqua Crescent.
I understand that. They do have another entrance on
They do,
117.
you're right.
Yeah.
and they should be
But
more.
the part and parcel of it, it's going to be an ongoing issue, because one thing we can expect is enhanced traffic. And you guys have been very responsive to the situation once the approval went in. So this is not, I'm really speaking here because it concerns our entire community. We can do this, and I certainly hope, just let us as neighbors know what we can do to help. If you want, I'll put on my orange jacket and go out there and direct for a certain period of time. But short of that, let's do it. The second thing I wanted to mention, two things, that's good and bad. But the good coming up is this wonderful performance tomorrow night. Very, very important. At the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. It's one of the reasons why we wanted to have it here. Suicide is a problem. Not saying for the folks on Roaringbrook Road, but to each and every person. You don't know. You don't know when you're youngsters. So yesterday at Rotary, we had a presentation by somebody who lost a son, who decided to go off into the woods around here and take their own life. Tomorrow there's a benefit concert, not very expensive. You get to do two things. You get to try out the Performing Arts Center, and you get to help a really great cause. So it's tomorrow night at CPAC. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Do code red for that tomorrow. I'll send you a reminder.
Okay, we can do that.
Right, any other public comment? Again, not leaf blower stuff. How we doing, Red?
Almost. All the times for PCs tonight.
Let's
Do
see.
you want to do the?
What else do we do? Yeah. Should we do some resolutions, bang it out? It's so exciting, we have an audience for
Okay,
resolutions.
I make a resolution to hire Jason Ramirez to the position of fourth grade police officer at an annual salary of $68,298.95. The appointment date will be November 26, 2018, or the date Westchester County approves the resignation reinstatement and all the medical appointments are completed with a probationary period of no more than 52 weeks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just for clarification, this is not a police officer for the fourth grade. The fourth grade is like it's a union designation. Fourth grade doesn't need a police officer.
I move to hire Douglas Peters as a part-time bus driver within the Parks and Recreation Department at the rate of $14 an hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept the resignation of part-time parking enforcement officer Kyle Brown effective October 12th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept the retirement of Detective Sergeant Daniel Corrado effective October 20th of 2018, and thank him for his 22 and a half years with the Newcastle Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to promote Sergeant Christopher Ragney to the position of Detective Sergeant, which was vacated due to the retirement of Daniel Corrado, an annual salary of $128,471.41, effective October 20th of this year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to extend the administrative internship for Meggie Brahimi, the duration of 6 months, retroactive from July 2018, with the Department of Public Works.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a few more of these.
We're not doing this, we're skipping it.
No, I-
Go to number 8.
I move to approve the request from the Chappaqua Central School District to hang a banner from May 10th to May 22nd for the school district vote to be held Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I move to approve a request from the A Cure in Our Lifetime Foundation to hang a banner from April 24th through May 9th, 2019 for A Cure in Our Lifetime fundraiser to be held Tuesday, May 9th, 2019. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to approve Lauren Cascone and Kellen Cantrell to attend the Grant Writing USA class, ooh, that's very good, on Thursday, November 15th. The cost for this workshop for both participants totals $910. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're gonna put you to work.
Okay.
All right, Rand, we ready for it?
Right.
Can you just finish the rest of the
Oh, which-
resolution?
which
Those
other
are
one?
the proposed. So I think there's just a couple of them there.
Kind of.
Is this
This is a resolution to amend the special permit approval for Conifer Realty LLC. Whereas on September 10th, 2013, the town board adopted a resolution granting a special permit to Conifer Realty for the construction and operation of a multifamily building with 28 units of workforce housing and 35 on-grade parking spaces at 54 Hunts Place in Chappaqua. And whereas the town board has reviewed and considered the applicant's letter dated October 4th, 2018, requesting permission to change the location of the gate on the pedestrian bridge and the slope of one small section of the roof at the south end of the building, i.e. the field changes. And whereas the town board wishes to amend paragraph 2.11.3 of the special permit to expedite the review of any additional field changes requested by the applicant during the course of construction of the building. Now therefore be it resolved, that the town board approves the field changes requested by the applicant for the reasons stated in the building inspector's memorandum dated October 11th, 2018. And be it further resolved that paragraph 2.11.3 of the special permit is hereby deleted in its entirety and replaced with the following provision, which, do I have to read the whole thing, or can I say
No, just as
essentially
referenced,
states?
as referenced on the resolution before the board.
As referenced in the resolution before the board, and be it further resolved that all other provisions of the special permit not superseded herein shall remain in full force and effect.
Second.
But just in pertinent part, what it says is that material changes should still be reviewed or must be reviewed by the town board and our approval, correct?
Yes.
But field changes, which are these nominal changes that are not material, instead of holding up every time there's a request of something nominal that has to come to the town board, it's, that now can be done through the building inspector.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Which is the way it normally is.
Which could
with
even
projects.
be like, we want to move an electrical outlet a foot to the right. The town board doesn't need to approve that kind of.
All right, so we have a second? Did somebody second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we gotta set a public hearing. Says- We're just gonna set the hearing.
Right.
I move to set a public hearing on November 27th, 2018, regarding a local law to amend Chapter 60, Article 4, Section 410, subsection H5C1 of the Town Code of the Town of Newcastle concerning requirements for construction, alteration, or enlargement of accessory apartments in one-family residence districts.
Second.
The public hearing will take place at 8 PM in the Assembly Room here at Town Hall.
Hollis seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, this is a resolution to amend the farmer's market license agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby amends the farmer's market license agreement to allow the farmer's market to operate beginning Saturday, April 6, 2019, in front of the rotunda in the commuter parking lot. Be it further resolved that all provisions and conditions set forth in the farmer's market license agreement and not superseded herein shall remain in full force and effect. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the Chappaqua Farmers Market.
Second.
All in favor?
I can do the last two. I move to approve a contract with Amelia Area University of Maryland School of Public Health for a series of presentations to be held at the Horace Greeley High School on November 13th and 14th, 2018, for the total amount of $3,000.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
This is in Newcastle United for Youth, so it's a pass-through.
I move to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $1,471,079.93 listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detailed voucher report, each prepared on October 23rd, 2018. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant on Wednesday, October 24th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that was not a pass-through. Okay, motion to adjourn. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Rand,
We've got the conch.
you're up.
I thank you. Thank the town board. I thank everyone else for allowing the Sustainable Advisory Board to come before you and to make a presentation on a legislation to limit the use of gas leaf blowers. Now, you might first think, why gas leaf blowers? Well, let me take you through some of the reasons why, and I think it'll become self-evident as we go through some of these. So today's discussion will be about why having a seasonal limitation on gas leaf blowers, what our neighbors are doing, some highlights of the legislation, a rollout timeline, educating residents, some more information about the electric blower purchasing group, and then some support for the ban, and obviously I'll take questions or the like afterwards. I will also ask the board that you allow a cohort, Dan May from AGSA, to come and make a presentation after mine, which should wrap up the reasons why. There'll be short presentations with the late hour. So, before I start in with why ban leaf blowers, it's very important, I think, to put it into perspective. And the perspective is what happened back in September at the UN when the Secretary General gave an unbelievable speech about where our environment is going. This is not about the environment, why we're totally talking about banning or seasonally limiting leaf blowers, but it does have something to do with it. So I'm going to just highlight some things. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. If you get a chance, you should really see the video. But basically what they were saying, what the scientists have come back and said, and the UN Secretary General has supported, is if we do not change course by 2020, then the world we live in today is not going to be the same for the next generation. That's one of my personal reasons for wanting to do this. We found over the past 2 decades that it's been 18 of the warmest years since 1850, just in the last 18 years. This year is shaping up to be the 4th warmest season, period, 4th warmest year, period. One of the key metrics that we've always used is 400 parts per million as being a threshold by which if we go over that with our carbons, then we are going to be causing irreparable damage to the earth. We have surpassed that. This past year it was 411 parts per million, which is the highest concentration in 3 million years. So one of the things the Secretary General ended with was, we know what's happening to our planet, we know what we need to do, we even know how to do it. But sadly, the ambition of our actions is nowhere near where it needs to be. So I'm going to start off with that as a preface to why ban leaf blowers. Leaf blowers happen to be one of the worst polluting devices there is. There's 3 ways that it pollutes the environment. The first one we probably all know. We're sitting in the kitchen in the summer, or you have an office in the house, and here comes that noise. The noise is greater than 90 dB. You can't hear yourself think, nor less the person sitting next to you. The second pollutant is the carbon monoxide, the nitrous oxides, the things that the Secretary General has been talking about. And the last is particle pollutants. As these blowers kick up particles, they're kicking up not just leaves, which is what their name is, but they're kicking up everything that's in the garden. If you watch your gardener, he's not just blowing the leaves off the lawn, he's blowing the bed. In the bed is fecal matter, is fertilizer, is ticks, is everything, and that's going up in the air. That's most hazardous to children and young and adults, old adults.
Ray, what does it mean when you say greater polluting than a Ford F-150? I
I'll
mean,
get there in 1 minute. Thanks for asking, if you don't mind waiting.
Nope.
Okay, so let's talk about noise pollution first. A gas leaf blower generates noise around 90 dB. 90 dB is greater than OSHA's standard for safety of 85 dB. And as we will know, as we can hear, is that hearing loss is permanent and irrevocable once it gets to that level. But this is 100% preventable. The workers that are working with these machines every day are being exposed to this noise, and that's coming back to us. And an increase of 10 dB doubles its loudness, and most electric tools, electric ones are about 50 to 75, gas is 90. Where does 90 fit in the realm? Well, 90 is about 95 in that range. The OSHA says that if you were working in a factory and you had that level of noise, 4 hours, that's it, then you're off the job. How many gardeners work just 4 hours? Most of them are working 8, 10, 12 hours a day. So the noise level for them, even with the muffs that they might be wearing, if they are, is irrevocable to their hearing. Gas leaf blowers, why are they so bad? It's a two-stroke engine. It's the only engine still really running these days that are two-stroke. Most engines that are out there for cars, not two, we all know that. A lawnmower is typically a four-stroke engine. There are some leaf blowers that are four-stroke, but the four-stroke are too heavy to carry. So the gas leaf blower is a two-stroke engine. A two-stroke engine doesn't burn fuel as efficiently as it should, because it has to mix the oil, the water, the oil and the gas together. When it comes up and explodes, it only explodes part of it. The rest of it gets sent out into the atmosphere. That's what's causing the pollution. So, Rob, you had asked before, oops, went too fast. You had asked before what's the equivalent of the F-Ford 150 and a gas leaf blower. Well, Edmunds and others have done studies, and the studies have shown that a half an hour usage of one gas leaf blower is equivalent to driving a Ford F-150 from here to Alaska. So let's think about that in our world here, in our community here. We have about 6,100 homes. If each one of those homes only used one gas leaf blower for half an hour every other week, it's equivalent of driving 18,540,000 miles, or here to the moon and back, 77 times. That's a lot of pollutants to add into the atmosphere. There's no reason for it. There are other ways around this. We need to look for other reasons. Particle pollution. To me, this is probably even the worst of all of them. Noise, we can put earmuffs on. Gas, we may put something over our mouths. We can probably do the same with particle. But with particle pollution, what's happening is you're kicking up all this stuff. And this stuff is in the atmosphere and it's being breathed in by individuals. If you take a look at the one on the right, something's in the air day one. On the bottom, it says a busy nearby intersection will have about 6,000 particles per cubic centimeter in what you'll be breathing if you're standing in that intersection. Using a gas leaf blower, as the one on the top, it's 53 times the amount. So as a device, this is a device that is very dangerous to our environment and to your health in particular. I have circulated a letter from a Dr. Lucy Weinstein. She's one of the chairs of the American Academy of Pediatrics. She states facts and figures in there as to why the evidence that shows that this has been hurting young adults young children and older adults, and doing things like increasing the risk of autism in the offspring of women, linked to all cause of premature death, there's fecal matter being picked up, etc. This is a slide that I won't go into that much because when Dan comes up later, he'll talk more about it. But it basically tries to break down the use of a gas leaf blower into its 4 areas of attack. First of all, it's the source itself. It's the gas leaf blower. It's the use of gases and oils and lubes and how they affect the pollutants that impact us, and the victims being ourselves, our communities, and our planet. So what are our neighbors doing about it? This chart changes probably by the month. When I first put this up, there was a lot more yellow and red. The green means these are towns within Westchester County that have adopted an ordinance ban on gas leaf blowers. The yellow ones means of people that are in process, and you can see we're nicely yellow colored. And the red, there's no local law at this point. But I can tell you I've been in discussion with people from Pound Ridge and further north that they're all looking at this as well. I'm not going to go through each and every town. If you want to, I'd be more than happy to disseminate that. But you can see there's pretty much every town in Westchester is at one point of the spectrum. So, what is our legislation asking to do? Our legislation is here to help the public health, welfare, environment concerns of Newcastle residents, and I'm going to extend that a little bit and say, and also the workers that work within our town. I think there's some liability possibility there that a worker might sue, but I'm not gonna get into that, I'm not a lawyer. The definition of what a motorized blower is, I'll let you read that on your own. What we're asking for is no usage of leaf blowers on non-exempt sites from May 15th to September 30th. From October 1st to May 14th, we're gonna allow usage of leaf blowers. Gas leaf blowers will be allowed during the off-season for 2 years while we ask the landscapers, municipalities, and others to transition to electric. And that transition will hopefully occur by October 1st, 2021. And we do carve out an exempt site. Now, the exempt sites are really being carved out right now because there is a need for certain operations to be able to support blowers. And those operations are, the school district has certain operations, public and private pothole patching, snow removal, water main break repairs, country clubs, rec fields, basically areas that at this point have not found the alternative today to be able to go to an all-electric environment. I do believe that this will change within a couple of years, but at this point in time, after interviewing stakeholders, it was felt that it was best to not stop operations or increase the cost of operations, but to allow some exempt sites. In summary, this is what it would look like. This is what I just went through. Restricted area from May 15th through September 30th. Unrestricted season from October 1st to May 14th. That would still fall under the noise restrictions that the town has, so you wouldn't be able to start before 8 a.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. on weekends. I'd like to make it 11, but that's my point. And the like. My rollout timeline for the legislation, where we are right now, is that we have, what's the point of meeting and presenting this to the town. This will not go into effect until May of 2019, in other words, next May. Between now and then, we hope to educate the constituents of the town, as well as landscapers and municipality, as to their alternative. Our education program will continue. We started it already. We'll continue through the winter months. We mean it to be a face-to-face meetings. We want to get in front of people and help explain why. And the program to include forums on the legislation and facts on leaf blowers, distribution of handouts. We were at Community Day. We were at the farmers market last weekend, and we've been working with the municipality. To help transition, Solarize Westchester, which I think we all know, is the group that has brought the solarized solar systems to the towns and the like. They have a program going on, a group buying discount program that they'll start up before the end of the year. The intent of that is about a 10% discount off the cost of the products, with the idea that they might even do a trade-in program. We find there's plenty of support for the ban. I'm just listing some of the local neighbors that are supporting it. Everyone from the county government to grassroots operations and AGSA. Frequently asked questions will increase what the landscapers charge. I have not found that in my own personal usage of landscapers, nor have I heard that from other landscapers reporting in. We have a testimonial that should have been sent in to the board from a company called Mo Green. Mo Green is an all-green landscaper, and he does not charge any more to do it green versus using gas. Can I personally use a gas leaf blower? No. Do I need to read through it? I won't go through the rest. I'm more than happy to take questions. Let me conclude, I said I'll make it fast, let me conclude with what the Secretary General concluded at that UN summit. And I'm not going to read it all again, but there's no more, I guess maybe I will, there's no more time to waste. It's not too late to shift course. Every day that passes means the world heats up a little more, the cost of our interaction mounts. Every day we fail to act is a day we step a little closer to a fate that none of us want. A fate that will resonate through generations in the damage done to mankind, humankind, and life on Earth. Faith is in our hand. The world is counting on all of us to rise to the challenge before it's too late. Why should we pass the legislation? We should pass it for our Earth. I mean, we are at that point in time. More importantly, we should pass it for the next generation. And my personal reason for passing it is that. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Dan to come up. Dan Mabe is in charge of AGZA, the American Green Zone Alliance. Dan is from California. He has operations in California, and they've just started to set up green zones here on the East Coast. The town of Southampton is the first. Dan, I'll pass the pointer on to you, and I'll put your presentation on.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Town Council of Newcastle. I'm Dan Mabe, founder and president of the American Green Zone Alliance, and while Rand is teeing this thing up, I just want to let you know that we're going to be talking about solutions, more about solutions. There are some overlap. These are things that I have found working in the industry. I come from the industry. I worked with gas equipment since I was a 10-year-old kid, spent my summers and my weekends out there. So this is coming from the perspective of a grounds maintenance worker. Fast forward to today, after graduating college, got into the teaching profession of tennis, had my interactions with gas leaf blowers, and then we decided that we were going to take a solutions approach to what seems to be a contentious issue in many communities. Where are we here, Rand? Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Go back here. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. This is how we do it. Our solutions are AGZA certified green zones. What does that mean? It means property transition. These are properties earmarked for electric, low impact maintenance, and they're dedicated for all routine maintenance. And then we also have service professional accreditation, that's crew transition. When we do the property transitions, that includes crew transition, but sometimes people don't want to designate an actual area, so we train the crews. Our other initiatives, we've done exchanges, gas for electric, workshops, presentations. Impacts of gas, we heard a lot of that. We're just gonna breeze through these. I put this up here because since 2000, this map has grown. You can see this is an issue, and it's not going away. And it's not just the left coast and the right coast, parts of the Midwest, and then now the middle of the country. So we really do need to start to figure out how to deal with this situation, but in a very measured, prudent approach, with both sides being heard, and something that we could all agree on coming into the middle. Here's some of the worst impacts of gas, and again, I'm speaking from somebody who did this for a living. We're going to focus on noise. Noise is the reason AGZA was created. We wanted to really strive and create a better quality of life in communities, but coming from the industry, I also know about the emissions and then all of the toxic waste of doing parking lot tune-ups and maintaining a small gas engine cradle to grave. There's quite a footprint to it. Okay, this is me in my home office. I live in Southern California, even though I spent a very brief portion of my childhood here in Westchester County. I'm staying over in Yorktown Heights at my cousin's, and I have family strewn throughout Westchester County. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the gas crews come, and I live in a densely populated area, and this is what I hear. If the crews were to transition to even 50% electric, this would be what that sound profile would hear like. Okay, let me go back up here. I want to really make something clear about sound. Gas equipment operates at low frequencies. It travels long distances and penetrates barriers. Our military actually utilizes low-frequency technology against our enemies. Electric equipment operates at higher frequencies. It drops off significantly at distance, and it does not penetrate barriers nearly as much as gas. So frequency matters. You saw this slide. We changed to the right from victims to affected. But just, again, working in this industry, knowing how it's damaged my hearing, the respiratory problems I have, and then some of the numbness in both hands from operating the vibrating gas equipment. I can assure you on a human level, this does exist. And then, of course, communities, you see how it affects us there, and on the more macro, 1,000-foot view, the environment and the earth. Okay, this study, there was a slide, Rand also had it, but this is actually a study by Fair Warning. This study was done in my town. They actually called us and asked if we can provide electric equipment to measure against gas equipment. Now, the actual meat of this study was they hooked up hygienic sensors to the workers. And then they measured what was coming out of the exhaust and how much exposure to the workers they were exposed to. Again, the busy intersection is nearly 6,000 particles per cubic centimeter. Now, there are plenty of studies out there that demonstrate living by a busy intersection definitely can have negative health effects. When you look at how increased these numbers are by these workers, they measured formaldehyde, carbon monoxide, PM 2.5 microns and smaller. This was a scientific study. You go to fairwarning.org. The entire report is there, including the methodology of which they came up with the numbers. California Air Resources Board, CARB, a very powerful agency in California. It monitors our air quality. They did a new study that includes evaporative emission totals with combustion emission totals, and they determined that two specific smog-forming pollutions are going to outpace passenger and light-duty vehicles by 2020, and this is from Lawn and Garden. Okay, now let's go to some of the solutions here. Again, these are just something to show you guys and probably hope to inspire you and give you some sense that there is hope, especially for the guys using the gas equipment. This is an example. We did the nation's first green zone city. What that means is this city, 53 serviceable acres of green space. Every single property is maintained with electric only for routine maintenance. For this particular city, there are no gas concessions for leaf blowers because it's not necessary. It's not in the Northeast or in the Midwest and in a place where the leaves fall so fast in one season. Here are some of the benefits of that green zone. We actually take inventory of the gas equipment, and then we're able to generate these impact benefits based on the gas use and replacing it with electric. You see, you get environmental benefits. You get the operational savings, the human health, and then the property just gives you a sense of the scale of the areas. I'm sorry. Okay, as Rand had mentioned, we went over to Southampton. We showed them what we were doing, gave them some very detailed information. They thought it would be a good way to set an example in their community. And they decided to go ahead and they green zoned East Quad Village Green, 4 acres, and then they took that model and we just expanded to Town Hall. And then I'm coming back in November because they're using these green zones as perpetual education centers. We will be doing a workshop for 6 to 8 private landscaping firms, and it's a one-day event in the classroom and then out in the field, and we're going to be kind of training them of how they can start their transition to electric, and then they're going to start looking at possible bans and restrictions.
I'm sorry, Dan, can I ask
Yeah.
you a question?
Sure.
A green zone is a designated district within a town, within a municipality where they're no
It's a
longer
property.
using.
It can be just a property. It can be a small property. It can be a larger property. We definitely know that multiple acres can be done, but you can do something small, something, it's
So are towns like Southampton doing that in lieu of passing a town-wide? ordinance?
Correct.
Okay, so,
No, well,
what
they're doing.
what we're suggesting here and talking about tonight is in fact more progressive and environmentally friendly than what's being done in Southampton?
I'm not sure. I just know this. I know that their approach is that they wanted to set an example and they wanted to demonstrate that they're doing it, that they're doing it first.
To do it on our.
And then after that, then they're gonna come down with, they've already told these guys, look, we're gonna bring AGSA in and some other people to help train you and give you this knowledge and give you some, and get you, aggregate some discounts on equipment. And that was their approach, and that's been the approach that we've usually ran into. Now, some towns and cities have enacted bans and restrictions. We're not saying that our way, or you have to do it that way. I'm just giving you examples of what is being done there.
Dan,
Yeah,
I don't mean to be rude or anything, but,
yeah, we're just about done here.
all right, because, I mean, this is like a whole separate subject, really, and it's 10 to 10, and we got to start this public hearing.
Sure. Cost of operation benefits, we'll just go ahead and if you guys want any of these slides, these detailed slides, we definitely compare the cost of electric versus gas. We give you those ROI projections versus buying gas. And in the end, we just want you to know that there are solutions, they're viable, they're working.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's
You
have
could
a,
distribute that. I'd like to take a
Sure.
look at that.
More than happy to distribute it. Thank you for your time.
okay.
Thank you.
So we have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Christine, you have a list of people who signed up for public comments?
So, Rand, can I just ask you a question while we're waiting? How are you expecting this to be enforced?
No, that's
I know
bad.
you're saying there should be a fine for everyone who would violate this, but are you anticipating neighbors are gonna be calling in about other neighbors? Or are we supposed to hire additional police to walk around and see if anyone's using a leaf blower?
I don't think it's realistic to think we're gonna be hiring additional police.
Yeah, I don't
Nor do I
either.
want to put that onto the town's, budget. But yes, it's just like any other regulation, it should be enforced, and if it's not, then the police, if called to, will need to react to it.
So you're thinking neighbors are gonna call and
It could be.
complain about their next door?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. Only one person signed up for speaking. We'll start off with Judy. No, well, Victoria, you can go, I'll put you next. You don't need to sign up. So Judy, you're first. Joyce, you want to speak to them? I mean, anybody can speak. We don't really need this list, but. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having my name is Judy McGrath. I live at 292 Douglas Road. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. Anyway, and thank you for having the public hearing on this proposed leaf blower legislation tonight. Basically, the Sustainability Board, when the information that came out, initially referred to leaf blower legislation of 12 other communities in Westchester. And so I've done a review of that legislation, and and I just gave you a summary of what that legislation is. And I just would like to highlight make a few comments. First of all, the Village of Ardsley does not ban leaf blowers, it just has limits. There are currently just 3 towns now in Westchester that seasonally ban both electric and gas-powered leaf blowers, and 8 towns that seasonally ban only gas-powered leaf blowers. And I won't even go into the difference with 2-stroke and 4-stroke, okay? Because there's a lot of people that do use 4-stroke leaf blowers, and I won't even get into that. Bedford just passed leaf blower legislation, but it applies only to the hamlets and not to the entire town. So I think you should be aware of that. Not one town has permanently banned fuel-powered leaf blowers as written in the proposed Newcastle leaf blower law. The size of each town referenced is significantly smaller than Newcastle. Each town has significantly higher population density and smaller property lots. These towns do not have the high number of lots of 1 acre or more that are found in our community. Therefore, in some ways, it really is not an equal comparison to compare Newcastle to these towns on this list. I also want to note that the County of Westchester already has a leaf blower emissions law, which has been into place since 2009. I sincerely do understand the environmental concerns and problems of leaf blower usage, but believe that the proposed law as written is not appropriate for our town for the following reasons. First of all, Newcastle is a large town, more than 23 square miles, with a population density of 780 people per square mile. 70% of the total properties outside the hamlet areas of Chappaqua and Millwood are 1 acre or greater. Thus, the majority of property owners have large areas to maintain. Also, I believe 1 acre or greater size lots are mandated by zoning laws for the building of new homes. If this leaf blower legislation is enacted, the majority of property owners will also now have higher costs and more difficulty in maintaining their property. I discussed this with my landscaper, who said he would definitely raise my costs immediately, just so you know that. How are residents supposed to maintain their properties during this ban period when no leaf blowers are allowed between May 15th and September 30th? There have been recommendations for mulching of leaves or, when permitted, the use of electric or battery-powered leaf blowers. Though these options have positives, they also have negatives. Mulching is difficult to perform on large properties with many trees. Leaves must be chopped into small dime-sized pieces so they can get into the soil. This must be done more than once a week to prevent creating a layer of leaves on the lawn, which would then block the sun and cause damage from fungal disease. Also, mulching does not work well with pine needles. In regards to electric or battery-powered leaf blowers, they are not as powerful and are not as suited for larger properties, generally because of shorter battery life or difficulty in electric cord management. In fact, it's been found, at least in one town in California where gas leaf blowers are banned, that landscapers use generators to power their electric blowers or to charge batteries. So generators create their own noise and own environmental issues. A third issue with this proposed law is there has been no information given on the possible increases by the town and how those costs will be covered. The law exempts Newcastle recreation areas, snow and paving operations. What work done by the town is not exempt. How will that work will be done, and will that increase town costs? Who is enforcing this law? Is it the police or a town employee? Will there be increased costs due to enforcement? What are the amount of fines? Are they as written in Code 90 where this is being proposed, or is it something else? Country clubs are exempt from this proposed law. Why is that? These are profit-making organizations. Why should they be exempt? Why not exempt churches? They are non-for-profit organizations. What about Chappaqua Crossing? What is the rules for that type of now large shopping situation? Finally, it is my belief that the town board has not been transparent in presenting this potential leaf blower ban to the community. Only limited information has been available in 2 town newsletters, and nowhere in any town newsletter is it stated that fuel-powered leaf blowers will be permanently banned. The public hearing was only mentioned in 1 town newsletter on October 10th, and not mentioned in the following town newsletters of October 12th or October 19th. I've talked to many town businesses and property owners, and they know nothing about this proposed law. There's been no outreach to business that I can find. In conclusion, I do want to say one other thing before I go to conclusion. Many people quote this Edmunds study, comparing the truck to the leaf blower. First of all, I'd just like to point out that this study was published in December 2011. It's a car review company, not a lawn equipment company or environmental company. It is not a scientific study. They tested 2 cars and 2 leaf blowers. So I just think that when people quote certain information, it's important to know the background detail of where that information is coming from. I found it interesting, though. This study is used in countless articles, but is not done by a group that specializes in environmental works. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. In conclusion, when considering the leaf blower ban, can you please keep the following in mind? The majority of Newcastle property owners have properties 1 acre or greater to maintain. Residents will have higher maintenance costs and greater difficulty in performing maintenance. I understand this is not only a cost issue, I truly do. But why give people another reason not to buy a home here in Newcastle with a permanent ban on gas-powered leaf blowers? Home sales for this year are already running less than they were 4 years ago, so this could just be another difficulty. No other Westchester town outright bans fuel-powered leaf blowers. The town needs to quantify its own possible additional costs and inform residents what those costs will be and how they will be paid. The town needs to perform significant outreach to residents and businesses to get feedback about banning leaf blowers. And finally, the town and sustainability board can conduct community education, as already been mentioned, about other forms of leaf management and encourage leaf management changes instead of mandating changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
Victoria?
I'm Victoria Elzapidi. I live at 65 Seven Bridges Road. I've lived here for 10 years. And I guess just to say that, like many people, I moved here and I inherited the lawn people who do the mowing and all of that stuff. And coming from the city, I had no clue about what that all meant, but it just seemed like the right thing to do, and all my neighbors were doing it. And over these 10 years, I think I've gone through a progression of, evolving to understand what all these things mean and what the impacts are. And so first of all, kudos to the SAB for pulling this all together and doing all this extensive research and making such a solid presentation, and thanks to the board for contemplating this. And I thought you raised some interesting points that I definitely want to respond to. But I guess I want to say that I speak as a resident, I speak as a member of the Conservation Board, as a member of, actually a founding member of Newcastle Healthy Yards, where we focus on trying to reduce pesticides, trying to increase native plant use, trying to take away invasive plants, and also encouraging people not to use leaf blowers because of the dangers, which were outlined to you earlier. So I guess I want to talk about kind of my personal experience anecdotally, for what it's worth, because you know all this science now. I would say that most of the times that I'm in my yard during the day, and I'm a consultant, so I do spend some time working at my house each week, and I either hear plane noise or I hear leaf blowers, and kind of maintenance, garden maintenance in the surrounding areas. I have almost an acre of land, and I'm on Seven Bridges surrounded. I can hear, it was interesting the point about the traveling of how far the low range noise goes. You can really hear not just what's happening next door, but all around. So we're a big community when we think about the impacts of these. It's not just who's right next door to us, but the noise travels, as does all the particles, as do, all of kind of the noise and air pollution is widespread and impactful. So as we know with the with the airport situation, the low, loud planes, the town has only so much control of that, and we're trying to have impact and reduce the noise pollution there and the danger to our hearing, et cetera. So you don't have total control over that, but this you do have total control over. If you want to have an impact on reducing noise pollution and air pollution, this is where you can start. Whether it's exactly this version or whether it's a modified version of this, you can actually have an impact. I mean, people are talking about it as an environmental issue. It's really primarily, from my perspective, a health issue. I know for me, I have asthma. There are times I have to go back into my house if I'm working in my backyard, on my patio, because I can't breathe. It's very clear. I think we all can think of times when the air feels so heavy because all the particles and the dust and stuff is kind of there and you feel it. So I think it would be, to the point around which municipalities have already implemented. I like to think of Newcastle, and I think the board and the SAB, especially, both in tandem with one another, you've passed some really progressive, cutting-edge legislation around these related issues. And I'd like to think that we don't have to kind of say, oh well, 15 towns and municipalities have already passed, so we can jump on board. I think it's kind of cool to be one of the first actors around this, and to really take action that we know will help the health of our community. Kids, children are so much more vulnerable around this because they're in developmental mode, and all of these, toxins really are harmful to them and people and everyone in the community. So I stand here to say I'm very, very supportive of this, and happy to see how it evolves. And also in response to just some of the points that were just raised, I guess it was maybe, I don't know exactly the date or the year, but probably like 5 or 6 years ago, after taking many classes on the environment and nature and gardening and all that, I really decided to stop using leaf blowers. It just felt like, why are we doing this? And especially, why are we doing this when there are no leaves around? So one of the beautiful things about this legislation is it doesn't restrict when there are no leaves. So it really lets us, as fall begins, people need to move their leaves, it lets us do that. Say let's, but it on a rational level, it's logical to be able to use those, and to your point about how big your property is. So I think we're onto something there, that over the summer, there are no leaves on the ground. So what are we really moving around? And do we really need to have these huge mechanical, gas-driven machines doing that? Since I stopped using the leaf blowers, I have not had any increase. It makes the lawn care much quicker. The guys come and they mow, every other week, every 3 weeks, and keep a healthy, lovely lawn. All the grass is lovely, and they haven't increased my charges at all. So I'm not quite sure where the concern about increasing costs comes from. If anything, it may be a reason to reduce costs because they're doing less work in your yard. Otherwise, the other piece I wanted to respond to, the point raised about mulching. So mulching is kind of like the cutting edge thing to do now. Everyone uses, or a lot of people use fertilizers on their lawn. Mulching your leaves is natural fertilizer. And actually, it's not, from my knowledge and understanding, it's not more expensive to mulch because many of the landscapers now have mulching mowers. So there's kind of an attachment, it's kind of the new thing to do, environmentally friendly. A lot of people across the county are asking for it. So many landscapers have a mulching mower, and they're just doing the same thing they would normally do. They're breaking up the leaves, they go right into the soil, fertilize the soil. So I would just, encourage you to not be too concerned about that increasing costs. And I think that's it. The only last thing I'd say is behavior change. It takes time when you do something new. The person who spoke from that organization, how do you educate? How do you kind of get people to tune in? Going back to my first comments, when you move here, you don't think about it. You're not thinking this is causing any harm. So there's going to definitely be, as with any issue, a little bit of kind of a behavioral change based on education and people realizing why we should do this, that it's not just to limit people's freedom, but it's really to help all of our health and environmental safety. So thank you.
Hi there, Tracy Stein. I'm 22 High Meadows. I can be very brief. I really value the measures that our town has taken to promote sustainability and environmental protection. So I'm here because I support this measure and so many other things that you do. I did want to say from a personal standpoint, I appreciate all the work that Rand and SAB has done on this, and I've spoken to Rand and a couple of them over the last few months. So in addition to the ideal of the policy itself, I wanted to see how it would work, and I thought it'd be useful to let you know that I started in the beginning of this summer to ask my landscaper to leave the grass clippings and to leave off the lawn, the leaf blower. My property is over 3 acres, so I have a decent sized property, and it's worked out beautifully. I think, again, it is about behavior change and getting used to something new, but the grass clippings were really fine. They sort of sink in very quickly. You really don't, I didn't see an issue with it. My kids still played outside. My dogs still enjoyed the yard. And ultimately, I just guided my landscaper a little bit in how to make sure that the grass clippings were swept away from, where I didn't want to walk on on the pathway. So I'm very much in support of it, and good luck to everybody.
And Tracy, just a quick question. Do you see any increase in the cost of your
No
landscaping
increase, no,
bills?
nothing at all. In fact, I think it was faster because they didn't spend the time with the leaf blower. And I just really guided them with wanted a broom in. I have a couple of pathways, and they were able to really modify where they were sending the grass clippings. So it ended up back on the grass as opposed to like really all over my patio. And for me, I didn't bother with it down my driveway because it didn't bother me. And it is a little bit about just getting used to the change. I felt really good knowing that this was a positive change I could make really towards our town goal of reducing emissions. Okay, thanks.
Chris, I don't think anybody else signed up, right? But anybody else is free to make a comment. I just ask you to state your name and your address. I don't really know why, but that's what we do.
Okay. I'm Laura Fox. I live at 48 Whippoorwill Lake Road, and I fully support this ban. I personally feel it doesn't go far enough. I think these things are ridiculous in their overuse. I see people blowing for hours their driveway. Their driveway's clean enough to eat off of. We have entered this mentality that is completely bizarre. We're not living in some sort of, I don't even know what it is, some sort of kingdom, leaves are meant to be there. Pine needles are meant to be on your driveway. It just seems like the overuse of these machines has gotten out of control, and we really need to do something, so I support this ban. I think it doesn't even go far enough, but I thank you for everyone who is bringing this to the attention of our community. And there just needs to be more education about what it's doing to our environment and to our health. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Steve Wolk. Maybe you don't know me.
Chair of
51
the
Pine
SAB.
Cliff Road. You know, I'm not going to say a lot. A lot of great things have been said. But if you've seen the latest reports from the UN, from the research, we don't have time to waste. So if this was not going to have any issues with noise, in fact, if the noise was going to be louder, if it wasn't going to have any issues with, help with particulate matter, if it was going to cost more, I would suggest to you this is the right thing to do. But guess what? It does help particulate matter. It will reduce that. And in fact, it will reduce the cost and it will reduce the noise. I mean, this is, to me, a no-brainer. So I'm not going to address every one of the, we can have a, sidebar talk about all the other, sort of little issues that were brought up. But this is the time to do it, and we're exactly the town to do it. And once we do it, others will follow in our footsteps. Thanks.
Thank you.
Steve, I want to just follow up with what you're saying there and to some things that Judy said, and I appreciate you obviously did a lot of work looking at this. To me, it's not an equal comparison issue. It's not about size of lots necessarily. It's not about what another community does. It's about if it's right and it's workable. Leadership is not always easy. It's not always convenient. I think, while an extreme example, I think about growing up and riding an airplane, flying in an airplane in the non-smoking section, which didn't exist. It was smoke everywhere. And I would imagine there were some conversations in those rooms about, well, we can't ban smoking because we're going to be adversely impacted. They're going to go to an airline that allows for smoking. And eventually, it caught up to people that obviously smoking is bad. It's in the air. It's not doing right by any of us. And it certainly didn't impact the airline industry. It's there today, and it was there then, and it's going to continue to be here. Certainly, if it isn't, that has nothing to do with not smoking. So, I, from what I've seen, and I haven't seen anything to the contrary, it has significant environmental benefits. What I have seen, and I haven't seen anything to the contrary, or what I'm hearing is that it's not going to have adverse economic impacts to homeowners. In terms of the transparency of what we're doing, I'd like to think that this many people come on a regular basis to watch us pass legislation, but I think that's probably, however many are here, is more than anyone ever comes for the most part, so I think it's out there. But that being said, we're not voting on it tonight anyway.
No.
And we're not even closing it, I don't believe. So
No.
it's open, and I encourage you to continue to share, but I really can't stress enough, in my opinion, it's not about equal comparison. If this can work, and I believe that it can, it's about doing the right thing, and subjectively we may disagree. And in time, it may be that we become the first airline that said no more smoking, and everyone followed, and you don't even think about it in 5 years from now, or 7 years from now, or whatever it may be. So, again, I appreciate what you're doing. I also want to make it clear that we're not voting tonight. This is open. We certainly want to hear more, so thank you.
And we've gotten a lot of public comments. And anybody who wants to send written comments can do so, townboard@mynewcastle.org. While the comments are forwarded to the SAB, you can email the SAB as well, sab@mynewcastle.org. And they're all made part of the public record. So if somebody sends a written comment, it's as good as coming here tonight or our next public hearing. So we will, I guess, have a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Well, we don't know the date yet. But we're not having a meeting next week, and the first week in November, is that a work session or public?
Yes, work session, so November 14th?
Okay.
13th, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So the public hearing is adjourned to November 14th. 13th, I'm sorry. Okay? All right. Thank you all for coming. I think we are actually done.
No,
We have
we
eight.
have one
Oh, we
more.
have one more.
I encourage you all to stay and watch, it's exciting.
Come on, you can watch the whole thing.
I mean, if you've come this far, I mean, come on.
This one's
We sing, at the
very
end of the meetings, we sing New York, New York. Nobody ever stays for the end, so.
I move to approve the expenditure of $415 to purchase raw data from Pride surveys for further analysis by evaluators for Newcastle United for Youth, which is a pass-through.
It's a pass-through. It's only $42.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
See?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See, that's why you should stay. I jumped in front of you. That was worth it.